So today we're going to dive into something I think a lot of you are going to love. We're talking about car flipping. Like, how do you actually find those deals, buy low, sell high, maybe even start your own dealership one day? And to help us break it all down, we've got Everett's insights to guide us. This guy, he's like car whisperer or something.
More like he's lived it, you know?
Right.
You can tell from his talk, this isn't some guy reading a textbook. He's been in the trenches.
Totally. And one thing that really struck me was when he busted this myth that I've definitely fallen for before. Just because a car is cheap doesn't automatically mean it's a good deal. I mean, come on, we've all seen those ads that seem too good to be true, right?
Oh, tell me about it. And Everett actually shared the story, almost fell for one of those himself. Found a classic muscle car online. Crazy low price.
Yeah.
But, he's not new to this game. He starts digging deeper, finds out this thing had been in a major flood. Pictures didn't show it, obviously.
So how'd he figure it out?
Vehicle history report, man. Turns out the damage was extensive. Everett said the repairs would cost him more than buying a whole other car. He dodged a bullet there.
That's why those hours you spend on Craigslist, AutoTrader, even those little local papers, it's like detective work, right? Got to piece together the car's history, its story.
Exactly. And it's not just about the price, like you said. Mileage matters, accident reports, even those aftermarket mods people do. Everett's really drilled down to those details they can make or break your profit, especially if you're thinking long-term building a dealership.
Imagine building a reputation on, like, a foundation of iffy cars. Not a good look.
Nope, not at all. And speaking of those modifications, Everett had some interesting thoughts on those too. Not all mods are created equal.
Yeah. What do you say about that?
He was really big on knowing which ones add value and which ones scream run away. Like you see a car, it's been lowered, fancy suspension, looks cool, maybe, but did a professional do it? Or is it some shoddy work waiting to cause problems?
Right, because then you're talking safety hazards, expensive repairs.
Exactly, and good luck selling that thing later on. On the flip side, though, some performance upgrades, especially on popular models, those can actually increase the value, but again, only if they're done right.
So you got to know the difference between a cool upgrade and a potential money pit. You know what else can be a money pit? Skipping the mechanic's inspection.
Oh, man. Everett had the best line about this. He said, skipping the mechanic is like playing Russian roulette with your wallet. I mean, it might look fine on the outside, but who knows what's hiding under the hood, right?
Oh, I learned that the hard way once. Bought this used car, seemed perfect, low mileage, the whole 9 yards. Week later, transmission died. Cost me a fortune.
Oof. Yeah, that's rough.
If I had just taken it to a mechanic.
Would have saved yourself a headache, that's for sure. It's all about protecting your investment, especially when your whole goal is to flip these cars, make a profit, build a dealership.
Right. That's money you could be putting towards your next big score or, like we said, investing back into the business.
Yeah.
Which, speaking of presenting the best version of your car, I loved what Everett said about prepping your flip for sale.
Oh, yeah, he had some good tips.
It's more than just a car wash, right?
Way more. He was all about how even a little effort can change how much people think a car's worth. Psychology 1-to-1 people like shiny things that look cared for. He told this story. He once bought a car. Mechanically, it was sound, but cosmetically, whoop,
Like what?
faded paint, dented bumper, the whole bit. But he put in a few $100, got it detailed, fixed those little things, even replaced the floor mats. Small details, right?
Yeah, but they add up.
They do. Sold that car for almost double what he paid. Double.
No way. Okay, now that's return on investment.
See, people might not know much about cars, but a shiny exterior, clean interior, it signals something, makes them more willing to pay up.
So you're not just selling the car itself, you're selling that feeling, that image.
100%. Yeah. You want people picturing themselves cruising in that thing.
Yeah.
But okay, so you flipped a few cars, you're feeling good. How do you go from, like, a solo player to dealership owner? I know that's on your mind.
Definitely. And Everett actually talked about this. He broke down going online versus opening a physical location, which I thought was really interesting.
Yeah, he said starting online can be a good way to, like, dip your toes in the water, lower overhead, you can reach more people.
But what about scams or people wanting to see a car in person?
Yeah, he addressed those too. So
Yeah.
you got to be careful online, obviously. Yeah. And yeah, some buyers just want to kick the tires, that in-person experience.
Makes you think about what kind of person you are, right? Like some people thrive on that face-to-face interaction, building relationships.
Totally. But others, they're more tech savvy. They like the flexibility of working online.
It's about knowing your strengths, right? But no matter what, you've got to be good at marketing, which is a whole other animal. Speaking of which, Everett had some interesting tips on crafting those car listings, and it sounds like storytelling is key.
He said, you got to go beyond just listing like the features, the specs. You got to connect with the buyer, on an emotional level.
So it's not just about the car itself, it's about what it represents.
Exactly. Think about it. People don't buy cars for no reason. Maybe they want freedom, adventure, or just a reliable way to get to work.
Yeah, so you're selling them a lifestyle almost.
Yeah. He gave this great example about selling a rugged SUV. Instead of just like, here's the engine size, here's the towing capacity. He talked about conquering mountain roads, camping trips with the family.
Oh, I love that. Painting a picture with words.
Right. Makes people imagine themselves behind the wheel. And speaking of painting a picture, he's big on using really good photos in your listings.
Oh, yeah, he talked about that.
He even told this story about how just changing the photos made a car sell super fast. He was trying to sell this vintage convertible, but the pictures he had were like kind of blah.
What was wrong with them?
Bad lighting, cluttered background.
Yeah.
They didn't show the car off at all. So he finally hired a professional photographer, and boom, the new photos highlighted everything, the lines of the car, the paint job.
And it sold.
Within a week,
Like
people
what?
were messaging him left and right.
It's true. Visuals are everything, especially online. You got to grab people's attention.
Absolutely. But even with the best photos, the best listings, you can't forget about building relationships with buyers. Everyone talked about how important that is, even for dealerships.
Yeah, because you'd think with a dealership, it's less personal, right?
You'd think so, but he said it's the opposite. He said it all comes down to trust.
Which can be hard to build in the car industry, honestly. There's that stereotype,
Totally. That's why he's all about being upfront, transparent. Like at his dealership, he gives every potential buyer a detailed vehicle history report.
Really? Before they even ask.
Before they even ask.
Yeah.
He said it shows them he's not hiding anything, builds that trust right away.
That's smart. Because, yeah, in an industry that doesn't always have the best reputation, being honest really makes you stand out.
It does. And the thing is, it's not just about getting that initial sale.
It's about repeat customers, word of mouth.
Exactly. Happy customers become your best ads.
And building that kind of loyalty, that community, that's got to be even more important if you're running a dealership.
Totally. You're not just trying to make a quick buck. You're building a brand, a place people want to come back to.
It's like creating a whole experience, not just a transaction.
100%. But, speaking of changes, Everett made a really good point about how much the car market is constantly evolving. Like one thing he's super excited about is electric vehicles.
Oh, yeah. He's all in on EVs.
He said it's a total game changer, and I gotta agree with him. It's the future, right? Imagine being at the forefront of that, being known as the go-to EV dealership.
That's the dream. But it's also a little intimidating, Things change so fast.
Totally. He actually told this story about how he missed out on a big opportunity early in his career. It was when SUVs were first becoming popular.
Oh, what happened?
He had a chance to buy a whole bunch of them at a steal, but he hesitated. Thought it was a fad, wouldn't last. By the time he realized his mistake, those SUVs were selling like hotcakes everywhere else. He was kicking himself.
Ouch. That's got to be tough to see those missed opportunities.
It's a learning experience, though, right? Sometimes you got to take those risks, trust your gut.
Especially in a market like this. But it's not just about spotting trends. It's about understanding them.
Exactly. Like, if you're thinking about that dealership, are you going to go all in on EVs? Offer a mix. Those are the questions, right?
It's like playing chess, always thinking a few moves ahead. But, amidst all this talk about strategy and market trends, I appreciated that Everin also talked about, enjoying the process.
Oh, yeah. He seemed like a big believer in finding the passion.
He was. He said something like, if you're not excited by cars, if you don't get a thrill from finding a great deal, then this business might not be for you.
It's a good reminder, Success is great, but if you don't enjoy the journey, what's the point?
Totally. And it's also about knowing when to step back, take a break. He mentioned work-life balance, too, which I thought was refreshing.
Especially in an industry that can be so demanding.
He used this great analogy. He said, running a business is like a marathon, not a sprint.
Ooh, I like that.
You got to take care of yourself, right? Otherwise, you're no good to anyone.
Exactly. And I think that's something really important that Everin brings to the table. It's not just about, making money. It's about doing it in a way that's sustainable.
It's a marathon, not a sprint.
There you go. And speaking of the long game, we've covered a lot of ground today, haven't we? From finding those hidden gems to understanding what buyers want.
And how to present it all, tell the right story.
Exactly. It's like we took a crash course in car flipping. Everin's style.
And the best part is, this is really just the beginning, right?
Oh, absolutely. There's so much more to learn, so many different paths you could take.
Whether you want to flip 1 car, 10 cars, or open up that dealership.
The point is, you've got the knowledge now, the tools.
Time to put them to use. But before we wrap things up, I do have one last question for you.
Hit me with it.
So Everin, he's all about staying ahead of the curve, right? And he's super optimistic about electric vehicles.
Yeah, EVs are definitely having a moment.
But what about self-driving cars? Do you think that's the next big thing for flippers?
Ooh, now that's a good one. That's making me think.
Right. It's like, how do you even wrap your head around that?
Will people even need to buy cars anymore if they can just, like, summon one on their phone?
Or maybe it'll create a whole new market. Who knows?
It's exciting and a little scary all at the same time.
That's the car world for you, always keeping us on our toes. And hey, that's all the time we have for today. So until next time, everyone, keep those engines running.
And those deals coming.